Most of you know, you've been around long enough to have heard about what we do in Mexico, but for some of you who might be new to Calvary, I'll just give you a brief vignette of what we do. San Vicente is about 120, 115 miles south of the border on the Baja. I've been going down there since I was a youth pastor, a young youth pastor actually, and just kind of fell in love with this little puebla and the people there. And I got connected over the early years with this gal, Jeannie Sufegli, who initially I just ran into her. She had a trailer and was ministering to kids after school. And have just grown to love her. And she, over the course of time, hooked up with Lisa Height. So Jeannie Sufegli and Lisa Height, they kind of came together in a convergence, if you will, in ministry. Lisa had a vision. In fact, I would just say this: Lisa is a visionary that's unstoppable. She had a vision to minister to women on the Baja, and Jeannie had a vision to minister to children, and they developed this vision together to minister to women and their children who generally have been thrown out, abused, mistreated, rejected, physically and otherwise. And over the course of time, the Casa del Pastor has developed into a thriving, just really incredible ministry where they're currently housing something like 30 women and their children. There's a constant turnover of some who come and go, and the ministry seeks to disciple women. They bring them in, they disciple them, they educate them, obviously they give them Christ primarily, but then they teach them how to work, teach them how to save money, rehabilitate them in every way, physically, emotionally. Again, women are coming, they're just literally beaten. And so they just minister to them and to the children. And over the course of time, as they kind of get them working, the women save money and are able to make deposits on land, and they save up their money and they end up getting a house. They've so far over the last something close to 20 years, they have housed in nice homes 18 moms and their children. And there's there's something like 5 that are in the hopper right now. It's an incredible ministry, and I am blessed to be part of it. We love Jeannie Sue. It's not a matter of having a missionary that we send a check to every month. We do send a check to her every month and to Lisa as well. But it's a heart ministry. We love them. We love the work, and I'm blessed to have been a part of it for all these years. Many of you have been blessed to have been part of it. I've taken a lot of your children there over the years. And now it's like this interesting season where I'm taking more of the adults who are getting to see, oh, this is what we've been doing. So we went with what I would just call a special team, we're special in every way. You guys are special. But, I envisioned that we would take a large team of skilled workers and, we took a small team of semi-skilled workers. Seriously. And I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but I always want to take a ton of people. I want to take everybody. But the 4 of us went. And it was Keith Johnson and his 2 grandsons. And so as the team developed, I just thought, well, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun to watch. This is going to be fun to be part of. in a sense, I kind of felt like a little bit of a spectator because they're family, and I was just tagging along. I would just say this. The four of us did a really substantial amount of work. For the parents and, for the spouse, I'm really proud of our team. In fact, I feel like the four of us accomplished as much as some of our larger teams have accomplished. There was certainly less babysitting to do, and we just got after it. We got after it in physical labor, which hopefully they're going to talk about a little bit, but in love. We go to work, but a substantial amount of the work is love. And so I'm going to let them come up and share just some of their experiences. So they'll do that, and then as time permits, I'll give what I think is just a little bit of an overview of why we do what we do. If you're here, if you're visiting this morning, I just want you to know we're a missions-oriented church. I'm a missions-oriented pastor, and so this is what we do, not every week, but when we do go on mission trips, I like you guys to be aware of what has happened, and so that maybe there be a seed planted for you to go. Keith, why don't you come up and get us rolling? This is Keith Johnson. Or you could just say Keith Jonsson. Jonsson.
By the way, where'd you get that?
I took that while you were slapping the kids' hands.
Can you open your email really quick?
These kids, middle-aged
open your
kids,
email?
not the little ones. They're looking and seeing, but they were coming over. It was because of Jeannie.
You got to use the microphone.
Oh, sorry, I've never needed a microphone. Unless they want me to record it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is for the television audience.
Oh. Anyways, it was the second day we were there, and Jeannie, the director, she comes walking along, all these kids, little and big, there's a lot of kids, and they're just looking and wondering who I am. But then she walks over and calls the kids, and she goes, "He is Rambo." It was amazing. Those kids have a lot of male influence. And just don't mind me, my wife knows this, I get all choked up and stuff like that.
It's okay.
Yeah, walking around and there's a little one hugging you and you go over and I got tools in my hand, But it was really godly. But this one here, these guys wanted some energy. And they were wanting to do this, do that, and I said, have you ever done, when you take your fingers out and you try to slap the other guy's hand and then back and forth? They wouldn't stop. They learned something new. So that was really fun. It was really great there. These two boys over there, Colin and Montana, a couple of my grandsons, that have been talking to me about going down to San Vicente for a long time. And of course, oh no, you guys enjoy it, we've been other places, well, they talked me into it. I struggled with it, I really did, because of, things happen in our lives, and with losses we've had, and some health issues and such, I'm going, no, I don't think so. Then I realized I'm making that decision. I wasn't asking the Lord. 3 times, the Lord spoke to me. And then those guys showed up again and said, well, Grandpa? I said, yep, we're going. But because of the type of people we are, it still doesn't mean you're not a little bit stressed. So there it is. I surrendered. It really was a surrender. So it was ready to go. There was a lot of digging, we found out. It wasn't just driving nails. That dirt that looks like it's so soft, it's like a rock. And my, ditches, they were digging the ditches. There was a big pit, and we had to fix it so they could use it. It's for their water containers, because they have to bring water in, and then they, have to do it. Anyways, it was me and Carlo, who works down there. They put us each in a pit, this deep, this square. And we told us, we need you to dig it down at least this much. It took a long time. It was hard to dig with a shovel where you can't maneuver. We're done. No. Fidel comes back. You need to do more. I mean, it was a lot. Each day my shoulders are just pounding me. But anyways, it was good. All of it was good, the whole thing. With coming to the playground and being with the kids around us and all of that has a huge impact, because seeing their faces, some of the kids would not come over, and I'm guessing those were ones who maybe were new and just still not want to be around a guy, an older guy. But that started changing over the week. I love the stories that we heard when it was between meals or just after a meal, and I think 3 times they had that, and Jeannie came and had someone who was recent, maybe a year, maybe just some months, but they felt that nobody was pressed, but they felt, yes, I can share my story. And it's quite amazing what these ladies have gone through, these families, these kids. And God had us in the middle of it so we could know how to pray for them and also know how to react and be around them. The work was hard. I don't doubt it. I hope you think you can see that I've lost some weight. I tried, my wife says, well, this color works, it helps. So yeah. But really, helping and praying and loving, those are the biggest tools, no matter what we did. I brought a bunch of tools, not knowing what we were going to do, and it did come to good use. In that loving, when I was writing my notes, I go, this was a true koinonia, where you're just loving each other, even if there's accidents going on. And it all flowed without any pressure of doing anything. And, exhaustion, I didn't say that. Exhaustion was tough at times. You're going, whoa. But then all of a sudden you're going, I'm going to go over and do that. And it was not anybody pushing, but the want was there, and it was good. Hearing the testimonies, I'd mentioned that. Those were very touching. So the 4 of us, and Fidel, he was the guide of what was needed and how to do it. And it was a lot of fun trying to pick up my junior high Spanish lessons, because I really did bad at it. But we had a lot of fun laughing, and he was very patient, and we laughed a lot, and we found out how to fix our things. Nobody really had to tell you what to do. You just sort of knew, that I know there's something to do, and you're looking for it. How can I help? And sometimes it's just sitting down with somebody. It's been a very gracious time. What I can say, all in all, is that improving and repairing stuff is good. It's good, and it bugs me if it's not going to be fixed. But also there was the witnessing the healing and the maturing in Christ's work. And in the entire CASA, you could see it. in their response. Didn't see a lot of rebellion going on. The CASA leaders, the residents, healing, witnessing their healing and their growth. And for the four of us, truly seeing in 1 week, experiencing God's purposes and plans, not just in us, but in them, just witnessing it. We came to the party, and the Lord was guiding it. So, in over years, I've told others about trusting the Lord, because that's the most difficult thing we do when the trials come. But saying or crying out to him it's in a verse in Isaiah that keeps helping me. And he says, cry out to me, I will answer you. Sometimes I get stuck with that, and I don't cry out to him, I just want to go fix it. I need his lead to do that. And the Lord really helped me down there. I don't know how it would have been without it. So in these 8 days, really have energized me and shown me that I have a long and hopefully full trust in the Lord to listen more and to pray and obey, because God is so good. Yeah. So.
Good morning, family. Speak up. Good morning, family. There we go. For those of you who don't know me, or partially know me and didn't remember my name, I am Montana. Montana. My grandpa did cover some very good subjects that were in my notes. So I'm gonna have to cut those out. But it's gonna be like a little bullet point here. It's gonna be generally quite short. You all know that I previously went on, the previous trip to Mexico, and my testimony on that. But I'm going to talk about first why I went again. Because God wanted me to, simple as that. I prayed about it a lot. It was another opportunity, and the Lord provided the money once again. So that was okay. I was having some doubts and some issues, but my aunt and uncle helped me with that and said, you know what, the money's here. So just trust, and the doors will open, and they sure did. So yeah, we went again, and we, a very small group, but we got things done. What we did there as far as work goes, yes, we dug a lot. There was a decent trench, and that stuff is hard to dig through. So getting about a foot down is pretty strenuous. Then we dug a second trench, installed pipes, painted a lot. I know Cullen painted quite a bit. He'll probably talk to you about that. There's so many things we did, small things, but there was big to them. It's very important for those little things. Just like how God is with our lives, those small things that I think it's very important that I think God cares about all those small things in our lives. So as far as work, yeah, there was a lot of digging, and I don't know if you call it work, but it was a fun opportunity to, we had to watch the kids one night, hang out with them, and we all know how that was. We just took showers, and then you got to take another shower again because you're so sweaty. You're like, oh boy, there's so many of them. They'll jump on your backs. And you're trying to converse to them in the little bit of Spanish so that's a little difficult. What we did as for pastime, there wasn't much pastime, but we did. We all usually just a fellowship together, and we had a magnificent Bible study that really helped me grow in how to. Pastor Jim really taught me how to read the Word without just glancing over it. And also the pastime with the children. That's a big subject my grandpa was covering was the kids, and they're always a blessing to me. And I've got a lot of nephews and nieces, and so it's really heartbreaking when you get to go there and you see that they have no father figures, and so that's quite a big blessing to be able just to hang out with them and show them a godly man. So What I learned, this is a big one for me, what I learned. I was trying to, previous trip, it was pretty eye-opening as it was because it was my first time. But the second trip, I was having a difficult time trying to figure out, or not find something, but, have God show me with what he was trying to show me, what was a big blessing. And it kind of came I was in the airplane, we were on our way back. And I was thinking, wow, I can doubt if I want to and say, oh, this isn't God, and I'm just doing this myself. I highly doubt that in its own, that it was just, me. Because of the magnificent and loving people you get to meet at this casa, I was thinking, if I didn't listen to God at all, if I didn't trust and have faith and step out in faith one bit, I would have never met these wonderful people or these children. That was the blessing. That's what it was. Because I was in that airplane, I was missing them already. We have our family here. We definitely have our family in Mexico in San Vicente. So yeah, it was definitely hard to leave them. As far as my conclusion, yes, we did a lot of work. The sun wasn't too punishable on us. Yeah, we got a lot of work done. A lot of listening to the testimonies of the ladies there. And as you see in your bulletin, hanging out with those kids. That was pretty awesome. And, I advise people to pray about it and see if they could go next year. So.
All right, so can you hear me? Yes? Yeah. Okay. Like y'all to bear with me. I'm not good at speaking. And if I freeze, well, you know what happened. So what I want to start off with is how God opened the doors on this trip. And I think it was the middle of July. I was walking through Arlington because I had to drop the car off at Les Schwab to get it repaired. And Pastor Jim texted me and said, hey, do you want to go on this missions trip? And I was walking down this street when he texted me. And I go, hey, are you at the church? He said, yes. And I met with him. And got to consider the timing of that. Like, of all the times I would actually be in Arlington walking down that street, and then he texted me and asked me about the trip before it was announced. And so I got home, I talked to my parents about it, and the money had come in, and I noticed that it just all was falling into place. So I decided, I'm going to go. I feel led to go on this trip. I got to the point of leaving, and as we were in the car driving down, I wasn't sure how I was going to go. My grandpa and my cousin Montana and I were in the car, and Jim gets in and he says, okay, so what we're doing on this trip is going to be plumbing and painting. And I'm like, Lord, that's exactly what I've been doing a whole bunch of for like the last months, plumbing and painting. So it was prepped. He designed it that way. We got to the Home Depot in Ensenada, and then we grabbed everything we needed. We knew what we were looking for a little bit, and then we got to San Vicente. After we got to San Vicente, we did the work. Montana and my grandpa covered it really well. What I got out of it is that he renewed life in me. I came back from this trip. This is my third trip down there. I'm still not good at speaking. He renewed life in me. I felt like I was alive again. After all the busyness of life before the trip, I'm going, okay, I'm going to head on this trip and not sure what's going to happen. And then I come back and it's like everything, I've been given fresh eyes. I can see all the stuff I have to have coming up. And, well, it's just, I can see how he worked in this trip, and I'm just reminded of all the things that matter. God and how Jesus saved us and all that. And I'm sorry, I'm a little short on this one. But everybody who has gone, go again. And everybody who hasn't gone, you should go once and at least see how it is. It's good. It's good to go, even if you're more introverted like I am. You'd be surprised what happens down there. It's blessed. Their ministry down there is blessed. Us going down there has been blessed in its own way. And just on the ups and downs, you got to take it as it comes. So, yeah.
It's hard to describe a week in, 5 or 6 minutes or a half hour or a few minutes. I want to give you, we're going to have a little bit of a Bible study, but it's clearly, it's just, I want to give you my heart. I got saved in 1987, started coming to Calvary Everett at the time, and was blessed to be part of the first mission trip that Calvary went on. And we drove the Baja, the entire length of the Baja, with no air conditioning in the summer. And ever since then, it's just, to me, that's Christianity. Being involved in missions is part of my faith. It's been part of the church where, in Lake Stevens and here, I think it's supposed to be part of the church. We're supposed to be on mission. And so you'll hear it regularly from me and, even from these guys. I'm going to add one little caveat. Not everyone can go or should go necessarily, but we should be on the same page as far as this aspect of our faith. I want to just give you a couple of things. This is just a brief message, just about how the work gets done. And I just kind of gave it a title. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do all week. It's like, Lord, what are we going to do when we get back? Because I'm going to have a limited amount of time. And we're not getting into 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 because that's about the Antichrist. And it's not like a 15-minute study. And you guys are spoiled now, so you're probably going to get out of here early today, but I'll see what I can do about that. I want to, you guys know I'm always quoting lyrics. I don't know, I listen to a lot of music, I love music, and it speaks to me in a lot of ways. During those early days of mission trips, I heard this song by a guy named Charlie Peacock, who many of you probably are familiar with, but this is one of his more obscure songs. The lyric goes like this. The title of the song is "This Is How the Work Gets Done." And he says, one man's got a big idea, another man comes along and puts some money into it. One boy puts a brick on the ground, another one comes along and puts one right on top of it. Hey, hey, this is how the work gets done. Hey, hey, this is how the work gets done. And when we go down to San Vicente, that's exactly what we do. We have a brick that we put down on the ground. Whatever that is, whether it's digging a trench for fresh water or digging a trench for not fresh water, which we did both. We had the water flowing both ways. Or it's, fixing toilets, or Keith just did some great work. There was this hatch that covered one of the septic shutoffs or something, I don't know, and it's been broken and kind of a trip hazard for years. Keith saw it and said, I can fix that. And he didn't just fix it, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And that's one of the things that we get to add, is not just doing something, but serving the Lord. There's a way to work, and then there's a way to work that honors the Lord. And we get to do these things and to do them right as best we can. So fun, so fun. But that's what we do. And so this whole casa is that way. It's one team comes down and does one thing, another team comes down and does another thing. And little by little, That's the way the kingdom is built. And ministries are expanded. There's two things that I want to just share with you about my philosophy and what I think is the biblical philosophy of Christian missions. The first one is that Christian missions is practical. There is a practical aspect to what we do and what we're involved in. James, of course, succinctly said it about as well as it can be said in James 1:27. He says, "Pure and undefiled religion in the sight of our God and Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself unstained by the world." Now, as soon as you read something like that, or you introduce the language that says religion, right away, especially if you're an older Christian, maybe one of the hippies, right away it comes up in our brains, well, this isn't religion, this is relationship. It's unfortunate that we kind of have this mentality. The word that James uses here isn't religion in the sense of a big structure of religion. The word translated, actually, it could be translated the practice of our faith. It's a good word. It's a good word in this context. And it's what I would say is the proper expression of our faith. Our faith, and he elaborates in many, many ways, our faith ought to be expressed in good works. Whether it's evangelism or practical things, he gives us this idea that, hey, you know what? This is a really good expression of our worship, to visit orphans and widows in their distress. And that's exactly what we're part of in Mexico. It's orphans and widows in the sense of kids that have been hurt, kids that have been abused, and women who have been abused and beaten. And they get to come here and they find refuge and rehabilitation. And their lives are repaired. Even as we're going down to repair broken things, the Lord is in the process of repairing all these broken people. It's wonderful. That's the ministry of Casa del Pastor. And as I was there, once again, I was just reminded how simple the mission is. It's a simple ministry. They love people. They're just loving people. They're discipling people. We heard testimonies. I heard a fresh one, but, I've heard several of these before. We heard from Lily, dear sweet Lily, and her son Jonathan and Carla. Jonathan showed up late for dinner, and I ate the last fish taco, and he was out of luck. I felt so bad. But Lily was there last night and shared her testimony, and it was so wonderful because you guys remember we painted. We were there, kind of finishing off her house when they gave her house, and we had painted it on the outside and decorated it on the inside, and it was such an emotional thing. But it was fun to hear her share her testimony with boldness. She was much bolder this time, not so shy. She's growing. But we heard how God, and we see how God is changing lives. Most of the moms who come and stay give their lives to Jesus, and their kids as well. It's part of the ministry that's not really negotiable, right? It's a Christian discipleship ministry. And so they're ministering to the widows and orphans in a sense, but then also part of the practical aspect of that is to give them the gospel. And the gospel is practical. They are being rescued, but ultimately they're rescued from hell. They're rescued from a life of sin. They're rescued from a life of corruption. And this is part of the practical ministry that Jesus has given to the church. This is what we call the Great Commission. And you guys know, I'll bring this up over and over and over again. We must never forget it. Jesus said, "Go, therefore, and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit." And so that's what we're supposed to be part of. It's very practical. It's the practical thing that this is what missions is all about. Serving needs and also bringing the gospel to bear in the lives of people. There is another aspect to Christian missions that I think is equally as important, if not more important. Certainly something that I've seen and is part of my heartbeat, and that is the relational aspect. There's a relational aspect to everything that we do, right? It's been brought up. We need to be reminded of it. We're family. If you have a view of the church that it's an institution that you come and just kind of receive from, you're missing it. That's not the doctrine of the church. The church is the family of God. We're connected. Andy talked about this a little bit in his intro last week. He was talking about how long he's known me and the fact that he was there when I proposed to my wife. I love this guy. When he launched Calvary Ballard, I wanted to encourage him, and so we decided to send for a year. We sent support to him to kind of encourage him as he was, until the Lord just gave him a multi-million-dollar facility in Ballard. That was encouraging, you know. It's like our little pittance was, I'm sure, an encouragement, but the Lord, you know. But it was so ironic. Andy's here teaching at this church. And so we go down to San Vicente, and Jeannie Sue's daughter, Reina, was there from Bachinieva. I can't say that right, but she's there with her new husband, Carlos, and they've been serving on the mainland in Bachinieva, where Andy's brother-in-law is the director of another orphanage. And we were just struck with, we're so connected. We're so interconnected as a family. It's wonderful. But there's a relational aspect to Christian missions. Paul gives us a little bit of a vignette, maybe a thumbnail sketch of his heart in this regard. In Acts chapter 15, he's returned from his first missionary journey, where he shared the gospel and planted churches all over Asia, Cilicia, Cyprus, into Galatia. But after some time, after having been home, I think in Jerusalem, after some time, he wanted to visit the churches where works had been established. And it says this in Acts 15:36, after some days, Paul said to Barnabas, "Let us return and visit the brethren in every city in which we proclaimed the word of the Lord and see how they are." This was, he didn't say, hey, let's go out and do some more work, although you know that's part of what he was doing and what he was always doing. He said, let's go visit. Let's go visit, in essence, these churches that we planted. These churches that were part of this family that we're connected to. Visiting, encouraging, refreshing. This is an important aspect of what we do when we go on these trips. These women who we support financially, they serve in very, very poor conditions. I mean, they're poor. And they're ministering to the poor. And it's good to just go and just to sit with them. And I spent hours with our missionaries. I spent literally hours talking, just visiting with Jeannie and just hearing her heart, hearing about the trials that she's going through. Even, you know, it's one of the wonderful things that happens every time I'm down there. I'll end up in the office with the two directors, Jeannie and Lisa, and we'll have a little power meeting. And every time they bring to me some situation that they're going through, give us some counsel. It's like, oh, okay. And it's so fun. And it's fun for them. And it's encouraging for them. It's vital, I think, for those who are serving in these kind of frontline ministries to go and to just fellowship with them. It's very, very important. And that's what we see happening in the text, in Acts there. So I spent hours talking with Jeannie. I spent time talking with Lisa. I visited Pastor Scooter at Calvary there in San Vicente. We spent hours working with and chatting with and being a blessing to Fidel, who's the guy who gets the work done when no teams are there. I spent time with Pilar, who's one of the women who's been rehabilitated and now launching her own ministry. Very similar to the Casa. Now she's got a heart to take in women in a little bit different area. But this is part of what we do. We go, as Paul said, we return, we visit, and we see how they are. It's important to be connected. I've heard in the past, from missionaries, people who are serving overseas, men and women who are on frontline ministries, who wonder if their prayer letters are even read by pastors. Because oftentimes they're not. That's the cold reality. There are those that I'm aware of sometimes who've never had a single visit from their sending church or their sending pastor. I hear these kinds of stories, and I've determined that's not going to be me. That's not going to be us. We send checks faithfully, right? We send checks faithfully. You guys know a while back we published this list of the different missions and ministries. It needs to be updated now, but I want you to know these are folks that we send money to every month. But more than that, we love them. We're connected to them. They're not people that are in a flyer or on a missions map. They're our friends. They're our loved ones. And I feel like it's very, very important that they feel loved, that they feel connected. It's not just my own personal philosophy. It's what we see in the scriptures. Paul just says, let's go visit those guys. Let's see how they're doing. Look at Acts 20. I want you to open your Bibles to Acts chapter 20. There's such sweet and tender ministry that he was part of. I think sometimes we look at Paul and we can think of, man, he was just kind of a crazy man who brought the gospel to the world, and it was all about doctrine and all about just kind of planting churches and doing this work. I think when we consider him that way, we miss a great deal of the depth of his ministry. In Acts chapter 20, he's sensing the end of his ministry. It did come to an end, right? As the persecution increased, he knew that it was coming to an end. And as he sensed the end of his ministry time and these adventures of planting churches, while he was still in Asia, he gathered the leaders from one of the churches, the dear Ephesian church, and he had a farewell meeting with them. And I want you to read with me what that was like in Acts chapter 20, verses 32 through 38. He said, "Now I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up and to give you the inheritance among all those who are sanctified. I've coveted no one's silver or gold or clothes. You yourselves know that these hands ministered to my own needs and to the men who were with me. In everything I showed you that by working hard in this manner, you must help the weak and remember the words of the Lord Jesus, that he himself said, it's more blessed to give than to receive." And so he's giving them kind of some last minute reminders. Hey, I love you guys. I didn't come here to take from you, but to give. It says, verse 36, when he had said these things, he knelt down and prayed with them all. And they began to weep aloud. And they embraced Paul and repeatedly kissed him, grieving especially over the word which he had spoken, that they would not see his face again. And they were accompanying him to the ship. I mean, there's no doctrine there. There's no discipline being meted out to the church. There's no correction going on. What you see here is Paul just saying, hey, you guys, here's some last words. I'm probably not going to get to come back and see you. And you just get a picture of what ministry was like amongst the early churches, specifically with the Apostle Paul. They loved each other. They're hugging and kissing him and crying. There was snot involved. That's missions. That's what it's supposed to be like. We don't go down and say, oh, you know, I'm down here with my tool belt. What can I fix for y'all? Right? We don't go down like that. Nor do we go down and say, hey, we've got a whole agenda of things we want to do to fix up your life and to tell you and show you how to minister. We don't do any of that. We show up and say, what can we do? And we do it with lots of laughter and lots of jokes and lots of fun. And the workers are refreshed. And the kids are tickled to the point where you're afraid they're going to pee their pants. Seriously, there's nothing more fun than one of the nights where the ladies were at Bible study, and so she said, oh, can you 4 men come and help the child care worker watch these, 25 kids or whatever that was there that evening. And so we just sat in a little stuffy room while the really irritatingly noisy video was playing, and we just played with the kids. Just, piggyback rides. They're climbing all over my neck, and they just want to be loved. And we just love them. We just expend our energy loving them. And it's supposed to be that way in the family of God. It's supposed to be that way in the church. And so this is what we do. We go, we serve them as best we can with whatever skills we have, with whatever tools are in our hands. But every one of us can love. It's like, can you push a kid on a swing? You can be used. Push, push. Montana, push. They just, yeah. And they just laugh and they giggle, and so fun. Now, look over at Acts 21. Hopefully you kept your Bible open to Acts 20, but a few days later, Paul had gone on to Tyre, and he was leaving the city of Tyre. And you see a very, very similar experience. It says in 21:5, when our days there were ended, we left and started on our journey, while they all, with wives and children, escorted us until we were out of the city. After kneeling down on the beach and praying, we said farewell to one another. Same kind of thing. They're leaving a city, and it's like everyone, the families are coming out. They're following the apostles, and they're just loving them. They're not saying goodbye at the gate or at the door or whatever. Hey, okay, see you guys later. No, they're following them. It's like, we love you guys. There's practical ministry, and then there's this relational ministry. As a healthy Bible-believing church, which I hope we are, as a Jesus-loving church, we need to be involved in these things. Practical, hands-on ministry in the way that the Bible describes. More than sending money, we need to pray, we need to love our missionaries well. We need to honor them and honor their sacrifice. We come home and we kind of go through the whole thing where, well, sometimes there's water to flush the toilet and sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's hot water and sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's water and sometimes there's not. And these guys have to put up with this all the time, day after day after day after day, and beans and rice. We get to come home. We should honor the sacrifice that's made on the mission field. Let me ask you an important question. Do you have skin in the game? As a Christian, do you have skin in the game? Do you guys know what that term is all about? It means, are you involved? Do you have something on the line personally? Are you personally involved? I think sometimes we can have, and we've been presented with a form of Christianity that's very spectator-ish. We should have a personal stake in the game. Of course, it's not a game I'm referring to. It's the religion that James referred to. It's the practice of our Christianity. As a church leader and as speaking on behalf of our elders, we've decided we're going to do these things. This is what our church is going to look like. I am probably, in a lot of guys' eyes, I'm more of a missions pastor than a senior pastor, and I don't mind that. Our elders, like I said, they're on board with this aspect of ministry, but it's not just my responsibility. And that's something that I want to clearly communicate to all of you. It's not just something that I feel is my responsibility, it's our responsibility. And so I would just ask again, do you have skin in the game? Are you involved? I'll give you 3 ways you can be involved and should be involved. Maybe not in all of them, but one or more of them. First off, the most important thing is to be a church that's praying. This is why I published this, so that we can take a look at it, so that we can know who our missionaries are, and that we could pray for them. Of course, on most of our Sunday nights, when we have our prayer meeting, we make sure all of our missionaries are prayed for. They need our prayers. They need us to stand with them. They need us to read their prayer letters, to read about their concerns, and to pray for them. And then also part of that is if you're on a list where you get those emails, correspond with them, talk to them, let them know you're praying for them. It's vital. But we should be a church that's praying for the needs of our missionaries. Not just me, not just the professional prayers. You guys should be praying for them, right? I invite you to do that. Make it a part of your daily routine. Pray for our missionaries. Secondly, just as important is in our giving. In our giving. Do you have skin in the game with giving? You should. I hope you do. From our tithes and offerings that we collect through the offering box, we have outreach that we do with that. Combined with local outreach, we usually blow our budget with it, but we spend more than what we've determined to spend, but we've determined to spend at least 10%. We tithe of the tithe. So whatever you all give, 10% of that goes to missions and missions-related, evangelism-related things. Our missions efforts are supported from those things. If you give, you have skin in the game. Thank you. God bless you, because you're part of it. But again, I would say philosophically, don't just give and pray, right? Give and pray. Paul loved the churches, and he talked about, very clearly, he talked about the churches that had skin in the game, the ones that participated with him. And he didn't say, hey, thanks for funding the ministry effort. He didn't just say that, although he did say that. He taught us that there was a benefit to those who were involved. In Philippians 4:17, he says this, not that I seek the gift itself, but I seek for the profit which increases to your account. I mean, this is the secret of giving. It was actually articulated by one of the guys. When you go to serve, you get blessed. I mean, it's no secret. I'll just tell you, I go because it's the most fun thing. It's the most fun thing. And the Lord just blesses my life when I go and serve, even digging ditches. And it's the same way when you give. When you give, the Lord increases it to your account. You actually receive from the Lord. You've got skin in the game. You're involved in kingdom work. It's important. And the more you give, the more we can do. the more bricks we can lay on the ground. Because I'm telling you, you go and you just think, oh man, I'd like to buy a new pump. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that. Oh, there's all these different things. There's tons of things we could do. The more resources there are, the more we can do. Paul says, I've received everything in full. This is Philippians 4:18 and 19. He goes on, I've received everything in full and have an abundance. I'm amply supplied, having received from Epaphroditus that which you sent, a fragrant aroma, an acceptable sacrifice, well-pleasing to God. And my God will supply all your needs according to his riches in Christ Jesus. You know what he says there? Giving is an act of worship. It's a fragrant aroma, an acceptable sacrifice. This is skin in the game. If you should pray. Everyone can pray, right? And if you can give, you should give. Skin in the game. Finally, you should go. Now, this is the part where I want to be really clear. Not everyone's supposed to go. Not everyone's physically capable of going. But probably you can go. And when you go, things change. That's when the real skin in the game happens. That's when the love bonds start to happen. And that's when I think the real Christian growth starts to happen. God blesses those. I was thinking about all the different ones that we've taken just in the last few years. Alan went. Alan's a landscaper guy. He's a gardener. Dude, you're pruning palm trees and making the hedges look nice. We asked one of the kids, what's the best thing about Casa del Pastor? And they said, it's beautiful. And it is beautiful. And you made it more beautiful. He went. He had a gift to give. George is an electrician. He's gone several times. And by the way, I heard your name mentioned more than once. There's always things to be trimmed. There's always electrical work to be done. There's tons of unfinished stuff. He went and he gave what he could give beyond all the love and everything else. And he brought his whole family and they all served. Robert and Jessica Nemnick have started going down. They're farmers. Oh, and by the way, they're beginning to launch a new farm effort. And the Lord had that all worked out in timing. Marilyn Anderson went after she had her hip replacement. And I was thinking, honestly, I remember when she went, I thought, well, I wonder what Marilyn's going to do. She's probably not going to do a lot of the manual labor. And then I saw how she ministered to the ladies with her own testimony, and freely and beautifully. Don't put yourself in a box. Oh, I could never go. Oh, it'd be too difficult. Was it too difficult, Keith? No, Grandpa, all the kids, Grandpa! It was awesome. So many of us, we have so many things to do. Cullen in Montana, they have youth and energy on their side. Man, these guys, I had to tell them they were swinging the pick, and it was like, you guys, don't beat up the dirt. Let gravity do the work. One day you'll be an old man and you'll thank me. It's just like, let gravity do the work. Lift it up and let it fall. But, if you can paint, you can go and serve. Just so many things. So I want to just give you just some lessons. This is what we do. There's practical work. There's relational work. We're going in the spring. It's an open door, and it's a great ministry. So I'd love to take, whoever wants to go, so long as you can follow instructions. If you can't follow instructions, stay behind and pray. Just give. How about that? Send others. That's fine, Anyway, thanks for letting us go. Thanks for being, you guys do, I'm not complaining about how you all give. We have a very healthy church in that regard. I want to just keep doing this kind of stuff till the Lord comes. And as many of you as want to go, we'll take you. Mike, I did hear them ask specifically about you. When's Mike Lundgren coming back? Seriously, they remember people. Father, thank you for the ministry of Casa del Pastor. Thank you for letting us partner with Jeannie and Lisa and Calvary down there. And all the work and the workers and the children and the moms. Thank you for this little Puebla where lives have been changed, lives have been impacted because of what you've allowed and what you have given. Pray that you continue to bless them and bless us, Lord, as we prayerfully consider what more we can do to be part of the work there in Mexico. Pray that you'd receive our worship now in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's stand and worship the Lord some more.